Good morning. There's Phil loading up corn. Still hauling. That's all he does every day. All corn. Anyway, it is like 70 degrees out today. And there's a lot of storms coming, maybe 2 of them, that we have to survive. And if we survive them, and we don't get poured on, as in we get a reasonable amount of rain, the weather really turns over the next week, according to the 10-day forecast, which will probably change, no doubt. But right now, there's not another drop of rain in the 10-day forecast after today, and it's supposed to be in the upper 70s a week to 10 days from now. Go time's coming faster than we think. We gotta get ready. So we're gonna treat beans and work on seed stuff hard today, because today it rains, we treat beans. Tomorrow it's beautiful out, we deliver seed tomorrow, Friday, and try and get this stuff done so that next week we can get a planter out, we can get tillage equipment out, we can get everything ready to go, so that maybe, I'm not promising this, but if we don't get rain today, a significant amount, a half inch or less, and the weather holds that it looks like it's going to, the forecast looks like, by the end of next week we'll be in the fields. Maybe planting by Thursday, Friday next week. So we gotta be ready. All right, well, I got those boxes cleaned up that we treated yesterday morning, put them all back in that row there, along with the ones that I had sitting over here. Those are all the Cruiser Max Apex beans for the one customer. We've got those 4 boxes there that are getting Saltro for him. We've got, what else do we have? Another 2 boxes here. These 3 ones that are for him that are getting heads up. We've got a box here getting heads up, and then there's another one somewhere, I think. 2505 maybe? Something. I don't know. It's starting to rain. Crap. Dad wants to use the man lift before it gets too nasty out today. He's got some branches above his house hanging in a tree that he sort of wanted to get down, so I was going to run it down there. It's starting to rain a little bit. Don't mind me, just cruising down the road in my man lift. I should go up a little bit so I can see. This thing does not like to steer when we're going forward very well sometimes, so you gotta stop and then steer. It's fine, we'll make it. We're not going far. So we had that really bad ice storm back in February, and there was a bunch of branches in Dad's oak tree here that were hanging, including this one right above my head. And we're kind of worried about the wind today blowing them down on the house. So we're trying to clean stuff up. And look what we got right there. You guys see him? Well, hello there, Mr. Raccoon. I don't really want to get close to him. Oh, yeah, okay. A little bouncy here. Hold on. All right, we're almost to it. Just got to get in there. There's some more dead stuff on the other side. I'm not real worried about them right now. This one, probably wouldn't hurt the house, but we're not going to take a chance here. Should have done this a while ago. Good enough for today. As much as I like to keep most of our equipment inside whenever possible, that's going to have to sit out. And it has sat out its entire life, literally its entire life as a rental unit, being wherever, so it's not that big of a deal. It'll be fine. Anyway, Dad's going to clean up those sticks and branches there. We're going to head back down to the seed warehouse. Oh, change of plans. Phil took off with that load of corn heading to Toledo, and he blew a tire. So now we got to go take him a tire, help him get it changed. He was like 2 miles from our Berkey farm when it happened and was able to limp it to there, so that's good. We got a spot to work on it, not on the side of the road, but it's a long ways from here. So I think this is the tire he wants and needs. Just gonna get it out of here, which I stacked all this corn here a couple days ago, so now it's hard to do. It's okay. We'll get it. I am not man enough to lift that tire up there, so I'm cheating. Whoops. Oh, that was so much easier. All right, I talked to Dad. He was just kind of working in the wood shop and not had a whole lot going on today, so he's actually going to take this stuff to Phil so I can go treat beans and work on stuff because I'm kind of busy. Not that I couldn't do it, but there's other stuff that I need to be doing. So we got the tire, we got a jack, we got the big impact, we got air hose for the impact, I got sockets for the impact in there. Should be everything he needs. We should have most of this stuff down there anyway, but just to be safe and sure, we threw it in. All right, well, after that excitement, back to treating beans. So we're going to pull out everything left for that customer that's getting the higher treatment stuff, and we're going to run those this morning, which means we're going to have to open up some some heads up and some Saltro. We're going to do the Saltro ones first because that I can measure out exactly what I need. The problem with the heads up is it comes in these little packets, and you have to mix them with water, and each packet does 400 units. So I can't really mix up enough for 4 boxes, which is what I need. I got to mix up enough for 400, which is 10 boxes, and then we got to figure out how to use the rest of it up. So we'll figure it out. All right, I got these boxes all opened up. This is the next run we're going to do, and then I noticed my forklift dripping again. It is this fitting right here, and I can't get my adjustable wrench in there. It's too thick to get it, so I got to go get the actual wrench, but I don't know what size it actually is. Maybe 11/16 would be my guess. I don't know. Anyway, I gotta go get a right wrench. When you don't know which wrench it is for sure, you just bring them all. 11/16 was my guess. Nailed it. I'm smarter than I look sometimes. That's not true. I don't look very smart. Well, maybe that is true. I don't look very smart. Once in a while I can get something. All right. Hopefully that solves our leak. I can check the other ones. I was able to snug all the other ones up with the adjustable. Why we have all of these fittings here instead of... Yeah, I don't know what this is all about. It seems like you could have taken this hose and turned this T so it's heading down and then put one of those. You could have eliminated a lot of this. Maybe I should do that sometime. I don't know. Yeah, see that one there? Just... Okay. Well, never mind. You can't turn that T because it's a different type of fitting, so that's why they did this the way they did. It just seems convoluted to have all those T's or elbows connected like that. The hose needs to be a little bit longer is what needs to happen. Oh, well. Okay, we are getting stuff mixing up here and ready to go. So we are going to add Saltro into these next 4 boxes here. So this is our jug of Saltro, and those kegs are expensive. This is really expensive. I have not gotten the bill for this 2.5 gallon jug yet, but I would anticipate it to be close to $5,000. Somewhere in that ballpark. This stuff is expensive, but if you need it and it works, it's worth it. Anyway, let's talk about this a little bit. So Saltro is a fungicide that we are adding, and it controls SDS, sudden death syndrome. That is its big thing. It does have activity on soybean cyst nematodes as well. Those two things are tied together while not the same. They're related a little bit in one causing the other. Anyway, this is used... I could find this in here. It'd be a lot faster for me to go over here. The use rate on it is 0.71 fluid ounces per 140K. Look at this. I got my iPad to show up on my TV. Oh, this is awesome. So we are going to mix our water and our Saltro together. We could do them separate. I could put the Saltro alone in that tank. I could put the water over here. I could put the cruiser in another tank. The problem is with only running 4 boxes of the Saltro, it will take a long time to fill the hoses and everything. And by putting that water in there and mixing them together, it just makes that a little bit of an easier transition to get it into there and the line's full so that we know that we're getting the Saltro on and not just the water that was in the line, and it's just a little easier that way. So that's how we're going to do this. So in pump 1, we're going to put our Cruiser Max Apex. We're going to need 313 fluid ounces, but we just pump it in there because we're not mixing. These other ones, though, we need to measure out. So we're going to round this to 114 and 62. So we need to use our pitchers, measure that out, and put in exactly what we need to treat 4 boxes. Saltro is not a standalone seed treatment. You cannot just put Saltro on beans. Therefore, there's no colorant in it, so it is very white. We use the colorant from the Cruiser Max Apex in order to turn the beans red. This will have little to no effect on that. All right, so we got our water and our Saltro in there, and I turned on the pump recirculation just to get it through the system and to let everything mix a little bit. I don't have an agitator on that tank, but it'll be fine. They mix pretty well. So you can see our hoses are white now, all the way up to here, but still clear from this valve back. So we need to prime that when we're ready to go, get that chemical pushed all the way through there. But before we do that, we're gonna have to calibrate this pump because we're no longer just pumping water through it, which is what we were calibrated for. So we need to do our hold the pitcher test where we catch it and time it and do all of that. This one is still just Cruiser Max Apex. That one's good. We don't need to do anything there. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this calibration now. All right, I got it calibrated and we primed this hose. You can see it's white back there and then it kind of fades to pink as we get up into there, but that's because there was some red in the hose, so it kind of mixed. So we're good to go here. We are ready for our 4 boxes. Well, the beans are coming out looking just like they always do. We are putting glitter on, so we got that going as well. The only thing that's a little bit different is that we have to watch this tank when we get on that last box because it should end up empty. And so we may need to dump a little water in there because the last little bit is going to have to flush that line, and it, in theory, should come out just right, and we should get the line pretty well emptied as well. We'll see how close we are, but I've done pretty well on everything so far, so I expect it to be pretty close. All right, last box of Saltro beans for now. We are going to use that jug up, whether it's on my own beans or some other customers, but this is the only one that got just Saltro and Cruiser Max. We're going to add inoculant in with the other ones and stuff. So anyway, I got to watch this. 900 pounds left. And it looks like we're going to be just about perfect. Getting right down to the end, you can start seeing it pulsing. You're going to see that center come up pretty soon, the drain. I'm going to dump some of this rinse water in there, but there's not enough left in the box to treat. It'll never make it. Yep, right there. So we're just gonna, none of this will actually make it to there before it runs out. There we go. It's empty. So I dumped in maybe 2 cups, a pint of water, 16 ounces. And that's, you know, it didn't drain all the tank and it filled the hose and pushed it all to the end. So couldn't do much better than that. All right, let's clean it out. All right, now these last 4 boxes, the one up here, they get the heads up on it, but no Saltro. So basically we have to do the same thing over again. We've got to mix it with our water. We got to calibrate. Actually, so this stuff is a dry packet. So we are going to mix this with water, but you got to make this into a 100-ounce slurry. And so we're going to do that, and then we're going to put that in the tank on the treater, and then we're going to put water, or the rest of the water, out of here. So we might actually run all 3 pumps this time. So this stuff is a real pain to get mixed up, but they did give me this year this little protein shaker thing that's supposed to help. So I don't know. We're going to put a little water in here. We're going to put that in there. We're going to shake the heck out of it, and then we're going to dump it into another thing with more water and stir it and see if we can't get this mixed up like it's supposed to be. Oh, that little shaker worked pretty good. Last year I struggled stirring and kept having chunks and stuff, and that actually worked really well. Got it all dissolved nice, and then we just added some more water. So, all right, so that is ready to go. I need to do some computer work to do some calculations on what my rates are and everything, and we'll get these started. All right, so here's our recipe. We've got this 1.96 fluid ounces per 100 per 140K per seed count unit. That's our Cruiser Max Apex. That's the standard, what we have been. Here's my problem. This heads up is a 0.23 fluid ounces per 140K. That is a very low rate. I don't know that my pump will be super accurate at that low of a rate. We're talking about only 9 ounces, 9.3 total to treat a box. So what I am proposing is that we double this. Instead of putting in 100 ounces of solution, let's put that in, put another 100 ounces of water, And then instead of a 0.23 rate, we get a 0.46 rate, which I know we can do because we've been running some water that low. That's still really low. You know, our water rate up here for the seed size is still up at 1.1, so we would just drop that down by 0.23, be roughly 1.9, a little bit less. That should work. Not 1.9, 0.9. Every little thing matters. You gotta be paying attention. Our heads up turned a little creamy because of the leftover saltro residue in there, but that's okay. They are compatible, but you can see how slow this rate is. So we have to calibrate again, so I'm doing that. But it's only like 5.7 ounces per minute. So I'm actually doing a 3-minute cal here so that we actually have enough volume to be able to see. But that pump is going about as slow as it can go, I think. We'll have to look and see if it tells me what percentage of the speed it's on. But I don't know, maybe we need another 100 ounces of water to be able to double it again. Or not double it again, but turn it up another 0.23. Finally, that took a little while. I couldn't get my pump to go slow enough even with the doubled water rate, so we had to triple it and go to a 0.69 ounce rate instead of a 0.23 or 0.46, which is working fine. So yeah, it is what it is. That wasn't ideal, but it's fine. Problem now with these last 4 boxes is there's 3 different varieties, so we got to clean out a bunch, but then we'll be done with this customer's stuff. I can call them and say, hey, you can come get them whenever you want. Okay, we got all those done. So it's actually almost 12:45 now, so I'm gonna go grab some lunch. We're gonna come back and figure out what's next. I got a lot to treat yet, but I'm not sure what exactly I want to do next. I've got that heads up in the tank that we should use up. Problem is, I don't know if I have any other customers that are getting heads up treated beans. They might all be for mine. Actually, I think I've got a couple. So we'll probably do that, try and use that heads up, and then we'll start into the inoculant. We may have to mix them together, actually, for the next stuff. The wind and the rain are on their way. Maybe I don't want to treat this afternoon. If we lose power while I'm treating, that would be a bad thing. I don't know. We'll deal with that when it gets here. Got back to the farm. Yeah, Dad made it back. That one's, that tire's no good. I don't know where he's at. I was going to go see if I can find him, see if everything went okay. I mean, he's here with a bad tire, so everything went okay, but, you know. Okay, back down here. So we have enough heads up left in here for 240 units, which is a little bit of a problem because my inoculant comes in either 200 unit or 500 unit boxes. So what I did was just drain off 1 box worth. 27.6 ounces is enough to treat 1 box after I tripled the amount, 3x'd it instead of 1x. So that means we can take one of our 4x50s, 200 units there, and we can dump all of that in with our heads up, and then both products will treat 400 units. We'll have to figure out the new rate with that added, and we probably won't need any extra water then, so we can shut the water off. But then we can treat 200 units that will get Cruiser Max Apex, heads up, inoculant. Basically everything from here on out is getting inoculant, I think. So we're going to be using a lot of that. Some of them get heads up and some of them don't. So we need them to be even. All right, one thing after another. 2 phone calls in the last 20 minutes. One from John Deere dealer about planter stuff and a hose. The other one from a company that wants me to do some product testing for them this year. So now we got to find more places to do side-by-sides and trials and all of that good stuff. So yeah, we're gonna lay it out. We'll see what we can come up with. But yeah. So anyway, we gotta get some boxes down. That's what I'm at. That's what we're trying to do. That, and I was gonna put inoculant in this tank so it gets mixing. Let's start there, and then we'll get boxes down. Okay, so this is our inoculant, and it comes in 2 different package sizes. So we've got the 4x50 or the 1x500. And I don't know why they do 50 unit, because all the boxes are 40 units, not 50. They used to be 50, now they're 40, that's why. But it comes with this extender and the inoculant. Now the inoculant is the little white powder stuff sitting there right on the bottom. You got to get all that mixed up. There's very little of it in there. Most of it's plant food to keep it alive. And then you put this stuff on there, and it keeps it alive on the seed. And then we can plant that. But basically, if we dump all this in there, it'll do 200 units. That's 5 boxes, not 4, so fine. It'll work. And, yeah. What else? Oh, inoculant. What is inoculant? Why do we use inoculant? Well, soybeans are a legume, right? And what that means is that they will form a symbiotic relationship with a bacteria in the soil called Bradyrhizobia. Does it say it on here? It does not. Anyway, the Bradyrhizobia is a bacteria, biological in the soil that kind of attaches to the roots of the soybeans. It feeds on these sugars that the soybean roots excrete, and in turn, it fixes atmospheric nitrogen and provides it to the plant. So when we dig up a soybean plant in the summer, you will see some nodules, we call them, on the roots. Those are where the inoculant or the biological, the Bradyrhizobia has attached to the roots and started to form nodules to create nitrogen for those soybean plants. The more of those we can get, the better. And so while that bacteria is naturally occurring, I believe it's a bacteria, you don't have to quote me on that one, but while it's naturally occurring in our soil, especially in fields that have had soybeans in them in the last few years, it doesn't hurt to add more and try and get more nodulation out of it. This stuff, unlike that jug down there, is cheap. It's cheap. It costs $3 a unit on the seed. Like, that's very minimal because of, figure a bushel or a unit per acre planting rate in the ballpark, and you're talking $3 an acre. When the price of soybeans is 12, 13, 15 bucks, it's a third of a bushel or less, a quarter of a bushel. Like, it's a negligible cost to get that to return. So any benefit from it whatsoever will return, and we just put it on. I'm putting it on all of my beans. A lot of my customers are using it, and I get that it adds $3 to the cost of your beans, but don't look at it like that. Look at it as a application, just like you would make with your sprayer. You'll spray just about anything at $3 an acre. So that's why we're using it, and we're going to get that put in there. The thing about it is a biological, which means it is a living organism. So it has to be stored right. It has to be kept from freezing, which is why we kept it in the shop until we had our heat on down here. So now that it's warm, you do not want them to die before we get them in the ground. So this particular product has a 120-day life once it's on the seed. Now keep in mind that is in ideal conditions. And so if we took one of these boxes, we treated it, we put the lid on it, sealed it up, set it outside next week when it's going to be 75, 80 degrees outside, it's going to cook them. We can't do that. You cannot leave these boxes sit out in the sun. We're going to leave them inside the barn where they're nice and safe and climate controlled relatively. So we always wait until as close to planting as we can to start treating with these, which is why we haven't used any of it yet. But we're to that point where we may very well be planting in a week and a half or less, well, a week and a half, and depending on how much rain we get right now. And I got to get the seed to the customers. So it's time. It's time. We're well within that 120-day window. Even if we're out until June, we're within that window. So we're going to go ahead and start treating with this stuff. All right. This is where things get a little interesting here. So we've got all of our inoculant and our heads up in there. They're mixing through the recirculation. And we've got Cruiser Max in here, but we need to add some more because we're about empty. So we're going to do that. But here's another component to this, right? So our inoculant is a living organism. And it should not be put through the atomizer because that atomizer is spinning around real fast, and the shear force of pushing it through those holes under force like that will kill it. And so we can't put it through the atomizer. So USC very conveniently provides a port right there for inoculant. So we need to take our hose off of here, the one labeled tank 2, because I was smart and labeled them. So I close this valve, we're going to take this off, and we're going to hook it in up there. So all of that is going to get pumped in there. And with the inoculant and the heads up, especially as high of a rate of heads up as we have in there, we're going to be putting a lot in there. These beans are going to be wet coming out. So not a lot I can do about that. In the future, when we're blending the inoculant and the heads up, we don't need to add all that extra water to get it to pump by itself. But because we had those 4 boxes that had to be run on their own, I didn't have a whole lot of choice here. So it is what it is. It will be fine, but we're just not going to use much water out of there. We're going to need a little bit to go in with the Cruiser because it's going through the atomizer into a different spot, but we're going to keep that to a minimum. Come on, get some water. The first wave is pretty well run through. I looked, we had 0.17, so less than 0.2 of an inch of rain. Oh, we're in good shape. We're in good shape. There's more to the west, we'll see, but it doesn't look like it's as severe as the line that just blew through, so yeah, it's gonna be go time soon. We gotta hurry. We just drained another keg. Should have enough to do several boxes, but I don't know if we'll have enough for what we're doing today or not. So anyway, all right, it's time to get some beans down, finally.
All right, we're treating our first box. You can see the liquid getting poured in there, coming through this port. It's pink because of the red that settled into the line. That'll clear up as it flows through there a little bit more. It'll be that creamy white, and then it'll turn brown once we work through this stuff. But that's how it mixes it in so it doesn't go through the atomizer. Beans still come out looking red and glittery. Oh, geez. Okay, while that's running there, we got the second box going through. I wanted to address some of the comments from yesterday and questions about seed size. Yesterday I showed you those boxes that had them super teeny tiny beans that the box was half empty. These ones are fairly similar. What's our seed size here? 2812, that's average. 2668. So these are a little bit bigger than these, but not a ton different. But I got the question a lot of, on an agronomic standpoint, does bean size matter? When you plant small beans, do you harvest small beans? If you plant large beans, do you harvest large beans? Does it matter from that standpoint? And the answer is kind of, sort of, but not really, okay? There is a genetic component to soybean seed size. Those super tiny ones yesterday, those 2610s that were 3551 seeds per pound, that variety of small beans every year. I'm not a fan of that variety because of how small those beans are. Not only from a seeding perspective, but also because that's what you're going to harvest. Now, in most cases, the size of the beans that we harvest is weather dependent, not seed or genetic dependent. Are certain hybrid or varieties of beans going to tend to throw bigger or smaller beans? Yes. But if we get rain in August, we're going to have big beans. If we don't, we're going to have small beans. That's just the way it is. So from that standpoint, it doesn't bother me. I don't want the super tiny ones, but if it's 2,400 seeds per pound or 3,200 seeds per pound, doesn't matter for me from a size of the bean that we're going to harvest standpoint. Now, from a seeding perspective and planting, large beans can be a challenge. Depending on your planting equipment, especially in a drill or something that's trying to meter seed out, large beans plant hard. They're hard to get through those meters and rollers because they're so big that they plug them up. Kinsey planters with their bean plates, brush meters or whatever they are, have a really hard time with big beans. Drills are hard to get set, the flutes, to get the right rate with big beans. Small beans flow through easier, so that can be a challenge. And then from an agronomic standpoint, at planting time, the bigger the bean, see with soybeans, what you see actually come up through the ground is the seed. The actual bean itself is pushing up through the soil surface. So the bigger that bean is, the bigger it is that it has to push through. Now, all of them are going to swell up as they imbibe water and begin to grow, but the bigger the seed starts as, the bigger that gets, and the more soil it has to move out of the way to get through the surface. Okay? A smaller bean doesn't have to move as much dirt. It can poke through a crust a little bit easier. But there's a trade-off there. A bigger bean has more stored up energy. It's got more reserves in the seed than a small bean. It'll push longer than a small bean would. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other there again. I can't say one way or the other. Honestly, soybean seed size doesn't make much of a difference. To me, as the grower that's planting them, our planter is capable of planting any seed size. We just might have to adjust our vacuum a little bit. So it doesn't bother me there. I love harvesting huge soybeans. So maybe I would tend to say, yeah, the bigger the bean, the better when we're planting, because genetically, maybe that variety throws a bigger bean at the end in the fall. But I have had smaller seeded beans that we get rain in August, and then they throw big beans that you harvest, and it just doesn't seem to make that much difference. So that's my take on soybean seed size. All right, we got the next 6 boxes done. So I need a plan now. We've used up the heads up, except for the little bit that I drained out there. And we used up the 200 units worth of inoculant on those 5 boxes. So, what's next? We'll figure it out. We gotta make a plan. I have a plan. We're gonna do another 500 units here yet tonight. I've got a customer that needed like some partial boxes, needed 20 unit boxes instead of the full 40. And so I told him I can do that. I'll just get the untreated paper bags and I'll throw them in boxes for you, because I have boxes. So we need to set up a couple of boxes to be able to do that, and then we can run them through their treater just as 20 unit boxes. Not a problem, just a little extra work here, and we're gonna have to dig into our pile to find them. Again, not a problem, just now we've got some boxes in the way. So, but yeah, we're gonna try and run a full one of them big boxes of inoculant, one of the 500 unit packs out here. This is what we've been waiting for. A nice long run of everything being the same. We've got 9 boxes here, and they are all the same variety, all the same lot number, with the exception of the paper bags that we threw in there. And I have not compared that seed size to the other ones. That's a no-no. Get that plastic tab out of there. That's why I don't take any of the box lids off until after we get all the tabs off. But this one didn't have a lid. This is our 500 unit pack. You can see instead of a bunch of small bags to do 1 box or a little over a box, we got 1 that'll do all of them. 12 and a half boxes, which is perfect because we have that 20 unit half box. That's why we're doing this. And for the 3rd time today, we have to calibrate, because now we're running straight inoculant. So we had to calibrate when we ran straight heads up. We had to recalibrate when we ran a combination of heads up and inoculant. And now we have to calibrate with just the inoculant. Hey, hey, hey. Oh, gotta open the box. You guys getting sick of this yet? Just seeing this and hearing that cheater run? I'm trying not to film so much, but then I go so long without filming anything, I think I better film something. But this video is probably plenty long as it is. So anyway, we're working our way through this run. We got a few boxes of a 2.9 that we're going to run after this to use up our treatment. What's left? I think 4 boxes. And then we're going to call it a day. That'll be a 1,000 unit day, I think, or pretty darn close to it. So that's good. This is the setup that I had envisioned earlier, with water here, Cruiser Apex there, and our heads up, or our inoculant over there. It'll be both when we get to it. So this is working really, really well. My glitter applicator has run empty. I used up that whole big bag, box, whatever that we had, the different one that I had opened there. So it did more than what it was supposed to. We're not getting it on as heavy as is the recommended rate, but that's okay. So I'm gonna do this box and the next one, the last of this run, without the glitter on it, and we'll just see. They're going to a customer who will be a good one to tell me, you know, did he notice a difference, kind of thing. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do it that way. We've got more boxes of it we can put in if we want. I don't know that I'm going to use it on most of our beans, which I have not gotten to yet. We're getting to the point where a lot of what we have left is my beans for our farm, although not all of them. So we'll use some more yet, but not right now. What a day. We treated some beans. In fact, the ceiling is tinged red. Not tinged, it's reflection of the beans. Let's turn the ceiling red. There's so many red beans. 22 boxes, 1,060 units. That's a day by myself, with all the tree trimming and semi-tire getting factored into there. So tomorrow morning, my seed care specialist, Reed, is hosting a meeting right here in my location for some of the crop protection reps from the company, just to talk about a few things. They wanted a location with a treater like mine. So I said, sure, you can come out. So I don't know that we're actually going to treat beans while they're here, or not while they're in their meeting because it's loud and I don't want to disrupt that and stuff, but they might want to see it run, so we'll have stuff ready to go. But that's at 9:30 tomorrow. What that means is before 9 o'clock tomorrow, we have to get all of these dumped back into their original boxes, lids on, samples taken, stacked up and out of the way. Maybe set up a couple of tables and some chairs, sweep the floor up good, get everything ready. So we'll be out here sort of early tomorrow morning and keep things rolling. But that's all for today. I know it's not the most exciting, just straight treating beans, but that's the important thing right now. I am not joking when I'm telling you that by the end of next week, we're going to be in the fields. We've gotten very little rain today. It's going to turn. It's going to be cool the next couple of days, around 50 degrees, 51, 52. And then all of a sudden, did I turn the treater off? I don't think I did. And then all of a sudden after that, it's going to be in the 60s and then the 70s. And I've even seen 80 in the 10-day forecast now. So it's turning warm and dry. Warm and dry means plant, plant, plant. And so it's not going to take long before everybody's going to want to be in the fields, which means we got to finish treating these beans. We got to get all the seed delivered. We got to get the planter ready to go. We got all kinds of stuff to do. I think Brock's coming tomorrow. We might send him out to grab some tillage equipment, bring that up, get it looked through, ready to go, so that at the end of next week, when things dry out, we can hit it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video. One more thing. Yesterday, I talked a lot about concrete for my driveway. Somebody was telling me how to calculate yards. Like, I'm well aware, thank you. But it's, depending on how much we do, we're looking at somewhere between 50 and 90 yards of concrete. So it's not a small project. A few of you have suggested blacktop. I don't want blacktop. I understand that there's a cost savings there, but I would rather just pour some concrete now and pour more concrete later if I can't afford to do it all now. So anyway, we're figuring that out. We'll get it. That's not the priority right now. We've got other things to worry about. So thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.